Ready? And next sequence.
I must say, that was pretty cool. Obviously, this is a review of the Unz Bluetooth speaker. That'd be funny if I did all that and then just reviewed some completely unrelated product. All that household MIDI robot drumming is brought to you by Venerly water bottles. If you need a water bottle in America, Venerly's got your back. Seriously though, being sent a big package and then being able to turn my house into a robotic percussive playground is what I would call a perk. It's called the Polyend Perc, and it's now almost a tradition where if I get sent a package from Polyend, I am completely smitten, and this is no exception to that tradition. When I first obtained these perks, I had these grandiose ideas of crazy things to do with them, but first, I just wanted to test them out making a giant polyrhythmic composition out of my house. I didn't really want to cheat too much either and do that much mixing, so I recorded the entire thing with an H6 and the little stereo capsule for it, and then I believe I had a condenser in my washing machine at one point. Another perk to doing things that way is that I got to abuse these quite a bit. Not really intentionally, but they weren't exactly hitting drum pads. They were hitting things with sharp edges and stuff like that, and they held up really, really well. This is the only one that is not in like new condition. It just has a little scratch on the wood, and it's not even an indent. I can't even feel it, so it doesn't affect the performance at all. And again, I kind of abuse these things pretty badly. At the time of me saying this, I have not yet watched or heard any of the videos previous to this, and I was kind of setting all this stuff up and tuning it by ear, so hopefully it turned out nice. Otherwise, I'm sort of gloating about a cool video that actually wasn't cool and was terrible. And hopefully everything was in 130 BPM. I sequenced the entire thing on an MPC Live, mostly just because the MPC Live is very powerful, portable, and battery powered, which comes in handy. That way I didn't have to keep plugging things in and loading up the sequences every time I switched rooms. I want to talk about this robot drumming technology for a second. In the last 20 years or so, I built probably 4 different prototypes that converted MIDI signals into physical robotic actions in some way. The biggest problem that I encountered in all of my prototypes was the solenoid clicking when returning or resetting its position. So every time I would send it one signal to fire off, it would make 2 different sounds. It would go instead of just. The perk somehow makes one sound. This is a little too valuable for me to open up and look, but I'm assuming that they must have used some really clever padding inside here to prevent that reset click from happening. So that's awesome. Another big problem I had was latency. If you want to trigger a solenoid using velocity, which the perk does, one issue I always ran into was if you have a light velocity, it's going to take that solenoid a little bit of time to go from A to B, like 50 to 100 milliseconds, but that's actually going to screw up your beat. For example, when I had a MIDI piano, if I wanted to play a soft composition, I would have to create a buffer of about 150 milliseconds between what my keyboard or my computer was doing and then the actual piano, so there was time for the hammers to actually reach the strings. There's another product in this ballpark called the Automat that is commercially available. I think it was a Kickstarter, so it might not be commercially available, but instead of a solenoid popping out of a mechanism or a ball, it actually is a hammer that goes up and down. For obvious reasons, you're going to have massive latency with that hammer, and using more than one in any live setting is going to be completely useless. That's not to say anything disparaging about the Automat, it's just in a completely different league than the perk. The perk gets around its latency issues with brute force. The thing is actually quite powerful at full velocity. I'm pretty sure if you hit yourself in the head at full velocity, it would leave a mark. Oh! Even at a low velocity, the perk's never really hitting anything lightly. Instead, it comes in 3 different flavors where you could have a different striker. It has a silicone striker, which is the lightest of the bunch. It has wood, which is what I chose, that's middle of the road. And then it has aluminum, which is for probably more experimental and sound designy elements. If you watch the sequence in the beginning of this video in any fine detail, you'll notice that I did use cloth quite a bit to dampen the strike, and it worked very, very well for that. So that's a pretty easy workaround, is you put a piece of cloth in between whatever you're trying to hit, and therefore it won't sound as sharp. I suppose if you wanted to set these up around a pan drum or something without dampening the actual ring of the pan drum, you could just stick a bit of felt on the striker, and there you go. When I first opened the box, the first thing I did was set this up to have a gate coming out of an LFO in my modular synthesizer into the perk to see how fast this thing can go. This is as fast as I can make it go on an MPC. That's almost fast enough to oscillate a tone, and I kind of want to set something up with all 4 of them to see if I can actually oscillate a tone alternating the solenoids. With the perk striker being as powerful as it is, that means that all of the hardware that comes with it and the build quality of the actual product has to be very rugged and able to support that power, and it absolutely is. That was the first thing that surprised me when pulling it out of the box, was how heavy and well made everything is. The perk comes with a directional mount that is made out of what I assume to be stainless steel, and it's about as heavy and the same quality as a top-of-the-line, very good and rugged drum rack, which you can't really ask for anything stronger than that. Also, with every perk comes the perk controller, which allows you to control it with MIDI in, USB in from a computer, or CV gate and CV velocity. This little button here, you press it, then you press a MIDI note and it automatically learns it. Couldn't be easier to set it up. Also, in case you were wondering, you could hook up virtually unlimited perks, MIDI in, MIDI out. You could just have that MIDI out go to a MIDI in of a different perk. The perk controller comes with a power supply that is about half the size of my laptop's power supply, and I was a bit surprised by how much power it actually took. I believe that the DC out is 24 volts, 2.1 amps, which I was kind of scared by because I did plan on controlling these via battery at some point in the future. However, in every single test and demonstration that I did so far, I metered the power and it came nowhere near using the maximum amount. I assume that the high DC output is just a safety measure in case you wanted to do this for 2 years straight. Your DC power supply would not heat up or start on fire, which they didn't heat up. I have all 4 sort of wrapped together in a big brick, and it's not even warm after running these things for, close to an hour. After spending a considerable amount of time with the perks, the one thing that sort of grabbed me was how rugged they are and how easy they are to use. It sort of paves a new path in the terms of what this product could be used for. When you first see a product like this, you think of a boutique style consumer like myself, some nerdy guy who's going to be putting this thing inside washing machines and making polyrhythmic sequences with it. But I could hand this thing to my dad and he could use it in his band with absolutely no problem. It's so easy to use. The build quality and reliability would allow it to be sort of a third arm for a drummer on tour, playing a show every single night and still not really having to worry about anything falling apart or going wrong with the product. For a drummer that only has one usable arm or 0 usable arms, it could actually be used as an accessibility tool, and it has. And that's pretty damn cool. A funny thing about this channel is when I talk about a product, I usually have to massively shave down what I'm talking about to keep it under 30 minutes or under 45 minutes or whatever. And this product is just so easy and basic that I don't really have that much else to say about it other than what I showed you in the beginning of this video. I think that's my ultimate takeaway of the Perc, is that it just reliably works. For those of you who like to accuse every glowing review of being a shill, I did not get this product for free. I bought it. I fully intend to use it in my music a whole lot, and I fully intend, I can actually guarantee you that I will be using it in the future on this channel. The Perc retails for 449 pony biscuits. Polyend is actually a Polish company, so I probably shouldn't fuck around with currency slang. It's 449 US dollars, but now I am looking up how much pony biscuits cost because I want to know how many pony biscuits a Perc costs. And I just searched Poly biscuits. I'm finding a lot of recipes with cookies that have ponies drawn on them, so I might have searched for horse biscuits. Ah, fuck, it's all sold by pound. Well, how many biscuits come per 20 pounds? Okay, the Perc cost 1,152 pony biscuits and 449 US dollars. Considering the build quality and the fact that you're getting the power supply and a controller with it, that's a pretty damn good deal. All right, that's all for now. If there's anything I left out about the Perc and you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Bye.